Princess Mononoke is one of the most powerful, complex, and beautiful animated films ever made. Upon its release in 1997, this film broke box office records in its native Japan, until they were broken by Titanic, and those records were broken by the follow-up film from Hayao Miyazaki, Spirited Away. However, before Spirited Away, Princess Mononoke brought a story rich in Japanese mythology, folklore, and history to a new audience. Never before had the West been exposed to the age-old legend of the Mononoke princess. And that's because there isn't one. This film is based on an original story by Miyazaki. Like most Miyazaki films, Princess Mononoke feels like it could be based on a real legend, even though it isn't. This is in part due to Miyazaki's prowess as a storyteller, but also to the real mythology and folklore that inspired him. As I stated in my video on Spirited Away, which you can view by clicking on the up right-hand corner of the screen, Miyazaki is careful to obscure most of his sources, or he will change them enough that they become fiction. But that doesn't stop people like me from trying to decipher his sources anyway. So in this video, I will go over Princess Mononoke and point out the real mythology, folklore, and history that it references, or at least is very similar to. Sorry for any mispronunciations I make, let's get started. There's no better place to start with Princess Mononoke than its title, Mononoke Hime in the original Japanese. Hime, as you might have guessed, means princess, or more accurately, the daughter of a lord. Mononoke is a general term for vengeful ghosts or spirits. So fully translated, the title is Princess of the Spirit of Vengeance. In this suspenseful opening sequence, Prince Ashitaka's village is attacked by a demon, who we later learn was once a boar god named Nago. Nago was corrupted by his own rage and fear after being shot by Lady Eboshi, and poisoned by the iron bullet in his body. But that doesn't explain why he appears to be covered in black worms. In Japanese folklore, sorcerers were known to use poisonous worm spells called kodoku, which translates as worm toxin, and these were derived from gu, or poison spells used in Chinese black magic. These poison spells are created by combining several venomous creatures, but the end result may take the form of a worm, like those that cover the boar god and which ultimately poison Ashitaka. In this case, the worms appear to be a visual representation of a tatari, or curse. In fact, when the watchman first sees the demon, he calls him a tatari spirit. In Japanese folklore, a tatari is usually created by a specific vengeful spirit called onryo, who became thus by holding on to urami, or a grudge. Nago's hatred of humanity transformed him into a vengeful demon, like an onryo, and his tatari infected Ashitaka. It also imbued Ashitaka with demonic strength that we witness later. It's also possible these Serpentine Spirits are influenced by Tsuchinoko, a malevolent snake-like yokai or spirit creature from Japanese folklore, or a similar yokai called Nozuchi. Ashitaka's village and tribe are called Emishi, which is a true historical ethnic group from Japan's northeastern regions, mainly in what is today the Tohoku region. Emishi were hunter-gatherers known for their skill in archery from horseback. Some historians believe they are related to the indigenous people of Hokkaido, the Ainu, while others maintain Emishi are a separate ethnicity. I know it's disappointing, but Emishi didn't actually ride red elk like Yakul, because that's not a real animal native to Japan. Yakul does resemble a red lechwe, which is a type of antelope from southern Central Africa. Miyazaki confirmed that Princess Mononoke is set during the Muromachi period, from 1336 to 1573 CE. When the village elder says that more than 500 years have passed since the emperor drove them out of his lands, he might be referring to the Emishi's conflict with Japanese forces in the 8th century that drove them out of some parts of northern Honshu, or the line could be completely fictional. The guns that Lady Eboshi and her men are using here are based on real firearms that originated in China, called fire lances. This very early form of gun was adopted and used in Japan long before the Portuguese introduced matchlock guns in 1543. Lady Eboshi later reveals that her firearms and the matchlock gun she later uses were designed by the lepers of Irontown. This is the first time we encounter the wolves. One of the men calls them Inugami, which is an evil dog spirit usually associated with black magic, but the term was likely meant to be derogatory. These are in fact Japanese wolves, called Okami, or a similar canid called Yama-inu, mountain dog, although as wolves from a mythic forest of spirits, they are much larger than normal. The Japanese wolf was a real species native to Japan, except for Hokkaido, they had a different wolf. However, the species went extinct around 1905. The title Okami literally means great spirit, and they were named this for their role in Japanese mythology as divine messengers or vehicles of the mountain gods. Okami are also thought of as guardians or guides. For example, in one famous legend, Prince Yamato Takeru became lost and was guided to the correct path by a large white wolf. That wolf was deified as Okuchi no Magami, the large-mouthed pure god, and is still venerated today at the Musashi Mitake Shinto Shrine in outer Tokyo. The Ainu people also deified the Hokkaido wolf in folklore, calling them Horku Kamui, howling god, or Yukoiki Kamui, the god who takes deer. In one variation of their creation myth, the Ainu people are said to be descended from a white wolf and a goddess. However, wolves aren't always seen as benevolent in Japanese folklore. The Okuri Inu, or sending off dog, is a yokai thought to resemble a dog or a wolf. Okuri Inu will follow and protect those who travel through the mountains, but if the traveler loses their footing, it will rip them to shreds. Likewise, the wolves of Princess Mononoke can be malevolent or benevolent. For example, attacking the humans of Irontown, but adopting and raising San, aka Princess Mononoke. As we can see, the mother wolf, Moro, has two tails. This is similar to a belief in Japanese and Chinese folklore, usually attributed to fox spirits. In Japanese folklore, the fox, or kitsune, will gain extra tails as it grows older and wiser. In some folklore, it gains an extra tail for every century of its life, and may gain as many as 9. This means that Moro is likely over a century old, but the fan wiki places her age at 300. San was adopted as a baby and raised by Moro. There are many myths or legends that feature feral children raised by wild animals, but the most famous is likely the legend of Romulus and Remus, the founders of ancient Rome. Like San, they were raised by a she-wolf, so it's possible Miyazaki was inspired by this Roman myth. Another possible inspiration for San, a little closer to home, is the Shinto goddess Kanayago. This goddess is often depicted riding a white fox while carrying a sword and a gemstone, like the one Ashitaka gives to San later. Ironically, Kanayago is the patron goddess of metalworkers, like the residents of Irontown who San despises. Kodama? In this scene, we are introduced to the Kodama, or tree spirits. In Japanese folklore, these spirits inhabit very old or special trees in the mountains, and will curse or bring death to anyone who cuts those trees down. Outside of their tree, the Kodama may appear as ghostly light, an animal, or even a human. Miyazaki's depiction of Kodama is unique, but visually owes more to an unlikely source than to Japanese folklore. In an interview, Miyazaki admitted he was influenced by Daijiro Morihoshi's manga, Mudmen, for both Princess Mononoke and Castle in the Sky. The Mudmen manga adapts the legend of the Asaro tribe of Papua New Guinea. While wearing their masks, the Asaro Mudmen resemble Miyazaki's Kodama, although the Kodama are smaller and you could say cherub-like. Other aspects of Princess Mononoke were also influenced by Morihoshi's manga, like I suspect San's mask and face paint, and there are other similarities I will point out later. This forest and much of this story were inspired by a trip that Miyazaki and the rest of Studio Ghibli took to the Japanese island of Yakushima. Not to brag, but the footage you see here was taken by yours truly while I visited the island last summer. It really does resemble the forest of the forest spirit, and it is full of sika deer like those that Ashitaka sees here, before catching a quick glimpse of the forest spirit. In Japanese, Irontown is called tatara, which is the name of a furnace used to smelt iron and steel in traditional Japanese ironwork, similar to what we see depicted in the film. This form of ironwork was essentially the most advanced technology of its time in Japan, and thus it serves as a great metaphor for man's gradual deviation from nature and corruption of it, the core theme and conflict at the heart of Princess Mononoke. After Ashitaka and San leave Irontown, they encounter the Ape Tribe. Japan does have a lot of monkeys, but they are macaques, not large primates that resemble gorillas as these do. The Ape Tribe is traditionally peaceful and prefers not to interfere in the war between Irontown and the gods of the forest. This is similar to the role of monkey spirits in 8th century Japanese folklore, which portrays them as mediators between the gods and humans. Later folklore portrays them as tricksters or malevolent yokai, perhaps the direction the Ape Tribe is going in this story. The Ape Tribe's glowing red eyes also resemble monkeys from Chinese folklore. For example, Sun Wukong, the Monkey King, is said to have fiery red eyes. Here we see the forest spirit in his gigantic Nightwalker form. In Japanese, the Nightwalker is called Daidarabachi, which is the name of a giant yokai of Japanese folklore. The Daidarabachi was thought to be so huge that its feet created lakes or ponds each time it took a step. In one legend, this giant yokai lifted Mount Fuji and Mount Tsukuba to see which was heavier. Daidarabachi are usually depicted as giant humanoids with bald heads and dark skin, nothing like Miyazaki's vision of the Nightwalker, which again owes more to Motohoshi's manga Mudmen, and specifically this panel which depicts a massive god of the forest. The Daidarabachi is also not known to transform into a forest spirit as the Nightwalker does. In Japanese, the forest spirit is called Shishigami, which means deer god. I mean like the animal deer, not like, oh dear god. In Shinto, deer are thought of as messengers or vehicles of the gods. Like Okami, but deer are not exclusive to gods of the mountain. This is why deer are permitted to wander freely through certain Shinto shrines, like the Kasuga Shrine in Nara. A famous scroll painting associated with this shrine, called Kasuga Deer Mandala, may even be the inspiration for the forest spirit's antlers. The scroll depicts a white deer at the base of Kasuga Mountain, with a sacred Sakai tree growing from its back. Miyazaki may have taken inspiration from this scroll, but placed the tree on the deer god's head rather than back. Creatures with animal-like bodies and human-like faces are not uncommon in Japanese folklore. A yokai called Kudan resembles a cow with the face of a human, and a tree spirit called Hoko resembles a tailless black dog with a human face. While not exactly human, the forest spirit's face somewhat resembles a red shoujo mask from Japanese no theater. The forest spirit is a god of life and death, like a shinigami or death god in Japanese mythology, but the forest spirit can also choose to give life. You could say like nature itself, and this is what I believe the forest spirit represents in the story, as well as the old perception of the forest. Forests of legend were a place of mystery, wonder, and danger, something you needed to both revere and fear if you wanted to survive, like the forest spirit. In this scene, we finally meet the Boar army and their new leader, Okoto. Japanese wild boars, called inoshishi, are a common sight in the Japanese countryside. In Japanese folklore, the boar was revered by hunters for its bravery and defiance. But the boar or pig is also an important animal in general Asian folklore as the last animal of the Chinese zodiac. Those born in the year of the pig are sometimes thought to embody boar-like traits, for example, determination and impetuosity. The boar or pig is also a symbol of wealth and prosperity. In Japanese folklore, the boar can be seen as fearsome or benevolent. For example, in the legend of Ino Sasao, the bamboo boar king, a boar is shot and killed by a hunter, but returns as a demon to seek revenge, similar to Nago. In another legend, the famous court official Kiyomaru was sent into exile after having the tendons of his legs cut. On his journey, 300 boar spirits appeared in the mountains, miraculously healed his legs, and helped him reach his destination. These boars are venerated at the Go Shinto Shrine in Kyoto, which is a popular destination for those with leg injuries. I should also note, as I did in my Spirited Away video, that Miyazaki has a general preoccupation with pigs. Objects or elixirs that provide immortality are common in mythology. However, there is no legend that tells of a forest spirit's head providing this. There is a famous Japanese legend called Yaobikuni, in which a girl becomes immortal by consuming the flesh of a ningyo, or Japanese mermaid. But even Jiko Bo admits that he doesn't really know why the Emperor believes this about the forest spirit's head. He's just doing a job. Luckily, San and Ashitaka are able to stop him and return the head, after which life returns to the forest. However, as San says, it's no longer the forest of the forest spirit. In an interview, Miyazaki implied that while life does return to the forest, it is no longer the forest of legend, where gods and mythic creatures roam. It is simply nature, as we know it today. That is why, while this film is beautiful and powerful, it is also a little sad. Those are all the references to mythology, folklore, and history that I found most interesting in Princess Mononoke. Please let me know what references you noticed or point out what I missed in the comments below. And let me know what movie or show I should review next. As it did for many, this film changed the way I saw the world and inspired me to travel to Japan, as well as make this video, obviously. I'd like to give a special thank you to Desmond Hinkson and Sam Kalinsky who helped me with this video. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, check out my video on Spirited Away and these other videos on the mythology behind your favorite movies or shows. Thanks for watching, until next time.